What's up, guys? Funk with you, and I'm going to do a quick top 10 fiction books concerning classics that I want to read and will in the near future. Let me know in the comments, guys, which classics are your favorites. I'm starting this out with number 1, A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. This is an 1843 novel by an author who is regarded by many as the greatest in the Victorian era. Interestingly enough, it was published on December 19th, 1843, and it sold out on Christmas Eve. This is a book that's never been out of print. It's inspired tons of adaptations. Charles Dickens is an author that I have never read, and I'm looking forward to A Christmas Carol. I'll be reading it for the first time next month. Number 2, Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky. This is a book that was published in 1866 in 12 monthly installments in the Russian Messenger magazine. This is Dostoevsky's second full-length novel. From what I understand, it's a very psychological, very philosophical piece. Dostoevsky was a hardcore gambling addict. I read a biography on him about a year ago, and I expect that Crime and Punishment is going to be a study in human nature. Number 3, The Hound of the Baskervilles by Arthur Conan Doyle. This one was serialized in the Strand magazine between 1901 and 1902. It's the third of 4 full-length Sherlock Holmes novels, and many people consider this one to be the best of those novels. I started with A Study in Scarlet earlier this year, and I was blown away. I was really surprised at how it reads like a modern book. It was a very easy read, and in my opinion got even better with the second novel in the series, The Sign of Four. I'm totally committed to reading every one of the 56 short stories and the 4 novels. I think that Sherlock Holmes is utter brilliance, as is Arthur Conan Doyle. Number 4, the massive The Count of Monte Cristo. This one was published in a serial fashion in the Journal des Débats. The book has been translated into nearly every modern language, and it's never went out of print. I actually tried to read this about 3 years ago, and I didn't finish it. I gave up. But now, friends, I have a bit of a different perspective. I know what I'm getting into this time. I have a different expectation, and I think with a different mindset, this time around, I'm really going to enjoy it. Number 5, the 1938 Gothic novel, Rebecca. Now, Daphne du Maurier really disliked the term romantic novelist. From what I understand, this isn't just a romance novel, but with many of her books, there can be some paranormal, scary elements involved. So I truly don't know what to expect with this one. On the cover it says, "The unsurpassed modern masterpiece of romantic suspense." Du Maurier was a successful author. There were many adaptations of her work, including her short story, The Birds, which was picked up by Alfred Hitchcock. I don't know if I should expect a dramatic tearjerker or a paranormal horror story. Perhaps it'll be a little bit of both. Number 6, an 1897 Gothic horror novel that inspired countless vampire fictions, Dracula by Bram Stoker. Something that's interesting about this whole thing is that this was not an immediate bestseller. Bram Stoker made almost nothing from this book, and it didn't become popular until later on in the 1930s with the movie adaptations. This one is a bit different. It's an epistolary novel. I don't have a lot of experience with these. I did read Carrie by Stephen King and Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. Those are epistolary novels. And you know what got this whole thing started with me really wanting to read Dracula in the near future? I read recently Anne Rice's The Queen of the Damned, and now I'm on a vampire kick. As someone who enjoys classic fiction and vampire fiction, it's about time that I get around to reading Dracula. Number 7, The War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells, which was serialized in 1897 in Pearson's magazine. This is one of the first science fiction novels to portray a conflict between extraterrestrials and humans. This novel has never been out of print, and earlier this year I read The Time Machine by Wells, which I thought was a great book. I enjoyed it a lot more than I expected to. It was a classic work that did not feel dated. I know that with The War of the Worlds, the original movie was in 1953, and they also made a version with Tom Cruise in 2005. So my plan here is to read the novel and then watch both of those movies and see how everything matches up. Number 8. Don Quixote by Miguel de Cervantes. This one is a 1,000+ page tome and is considered by many as the modern novel and one of the best novels ever produced. I know very little about this one except that a man and his squire travel the lands. From what I understand, there's some parts in it that are funny. Maybe it's a bit of satire. I'm afraid to investigate due to fear of spoilers. I do know that the author lived much of his life in poverty and obscurity, but he was such a successful linguist that many people consider the Spanish language the language of Cervantes. Number 9, a gothic and philosophical novel, The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. This one was first published in the 1890 edition of Lipcott's Monthly magazine, and it's the only novel ever produced by Wilde. I know that there was a ton of controversy with this thing. The editors and publishers thought that much of it was offensive, so they took some of it out without making him aware of that fact. However, in 2011, the Belknap Press produced the unabridged, uncensored version of the book, and that will be the version that I read. And number 10, an 1851 novel by Herman Melville, Moby Dick. This one was originally published in 3 parts in the city of London, and it was inspired by a real whale named Mocha Dick. Mocha was a sperm whale that was over 70 feet long and was notorious for gently swimming alongside the whaling ships of that time. At the first sign of aggression, though, Mocha would try to destroy any boats that attacked him. I have a feeling I'm going to be rooting for the whale when I read this book. I actually tried to read it on 2 different occasions in the past, and I ran out of gas. I didn't finish it, but I now have a better idea of what I'm getting into, and after doing some research on Melville and the inspirations for this book, I believe that I will enjoy it this time around. This is one of the most notable books in history, and I want to finally get it under my literary belt. There you have it, guys. 10 classic books that I'm really looking forward to. Let me know in the comments if you have any classic recommendations for me, and let me know which classics are in your to-be-read pile. Thanks for dropping by, guys. I'll see you next time.